In May of 1991, 33 million people tuned in to watch the finale of the hit show Dallas. This Sunday, millions again gathering to watch a sitcom we've seen many times before, The Cowboys, a no-show when the lights get bright. Led by Jordan Love and Aaron Jones, the Packers become the first ever 7 seed in the current playoff format to win a game. Jerry Jones, well, we know what comes next, maybe, as the Dallas Cowboys fall short once again. Despite that 2 seed, Green Bay goes on the road and posts 48 against what was one of the best defenses throughout this season. Jordan Love, 1 incompletion away from a perfect passer rating, but does plenty. 16 of 21, 272, 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones touched paint 3 times as well, as that duo leads the Packers to the divisional round. In studio alongside the 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, I think most of the questions here will surround the losing side, but we always start with our winner. Green Bay, the youngest team to make the playoffs in NFL history, goes on the road into Dallas, and they look like the vets. How did this game plan go off without a hitch early in this game and set the tone for the remainder of it?
Yo, they had the best quarterback in this ball game, right? And if you look at the last part of the season, Jordan Love was pretty much at the top of the list when you look at the stats at the quarterback position. Just the efficiency that he was displaying week in and week out, especially in the month of December. His big playability as well, especially scoring in red zone opportunities, and just the confidence that he was able to establish during that hot run continue in today's matchup. Remember, in halftime, he only had 3 incompletions, 13 of 16 for 185 yards. You talked about what he finished with. He added 2 more touchdowns, almost 300 yards through the air. And playing against this defense at home, he made them look like a JV squad. And the youngest team to do what they're currently doing, if you look at his wide receivers, no household name. And the one name that we all know didn't really do anything in Christian Watson. I mean, Romeo Dobbs was outstanding. Bo Melton made plays, Musgrave, and then, of course, Aaron Jones. The coaching that we've watched with the Green Bay Packers is probably the 2nd best coaching job in the National Football League behind Sean McVay. When you talk about the youth movement, right, and key positions on their team. Of course, Kevin Stefanski will win the Coach of the Year because of all the injuries and, of course, what they've been able to do to get into the postseason, yet and still their season is over. But if you look at the job that Matt LaFleur has done this season without Aaron Rodgers, because it's easy to say when you have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it in the National Football League, well, a lot of your coaching success is coming from the Aaron Rodgers. It's like when Eric Spoelstra had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Oh, it's more about the players. But then when you move on from those players or that guy and you still have success, you can really coach football. And he's coaching football right now, and you can tell by you look at how the team, how they move around, how they handle their business home or away, and most importantly, the quarterback. They hit it again. You talked about that in the month of September.
That's just
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love.
Not just picking the right guy, but when knowing when to move on from the previous guy. And when a Hall of Famer is who precedes you, you're always going to be compared to that. And a lot of those comparisons have been made from Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers, the off-platform throws, the arm angles, some of which we saw in this game. But to project that onto a playoff stage in your first taste of it, that's a different thing. How do you really wrap your mind around what Jordan Love just did? Because expectations have now changed as we've seen this growth over these last month and a half of the season.
I'm glad our graphics team put this graphic up because this is where I was going to go with Jordan Love. I mean, he reminds me a lot of C.J. Stroud.
It's right there.
These 2 guys, they have to be jazz lovers or R&B lovers.
Tell me about it.
Because they're always cool and calm and smooth. They're never too high. They're never too low. They're just the right medium when you talk about playing the game of football, especially at the quarterback position. If you go back and watch what C.J. Stroud did yesterday against Cleveland, another outstanding defensive team as well, he was always cool and calm, listening to jazz, listening to R&B. If you watch what Jordan Love did today in a hostile environment, listening to jazz, listening to R&B, move side. When other things are getting rattled around you, when the moment is getting super high, Jordan Love was just super cool. That's that Joe Burrow effect. And when you have that effect at the quarterback position, along with the arm talent that Jordan Love has, being able to orchestrate so many outstanding drives, man, this man, and the thing that I love about Jordan Love is something that you don't usually coach, just his ability to be floating back on his heels and throwing dimes. He just has a natural throwing motion that is so prolific, and it fits what he does.
Well, he might have to deliver off that back foot as the matchup is set. The lowest seed set to take on the highest seed. San Francisco will play host to Green Bay. There's history in that matchup, and not a history that the Green Bay Packers would like to harken back to. We'll get to that matchup throughout the week plenty, but there are issues to be solved in this very moment, Mac. I want to take it to the other sideline here because
unfortunately,
it's a story that Dallas fans have seen before. 12 times this team has made the playoffs since 1996. They've been one and done in 8 of those 12 trips. Did you get a sense that this team was, 1, aware of that history, and 2, let it affect them?
Yeah, they had to be aware of it because it's always associated with the Dallas Cowboys, especially in postseason play. You know, I said earlier in the show, pregame show, that the season for the Dallas Cowboys starts now. It's about what you do in the postseason, because we've seen this storyline from the Dallas Cowboys before, especially under Mike McCarthy. You can get into the playoffs, no question. You can have a high seed, no question. But what do you do when you're in the playoffs? That's when the season starts. And this is a team that has championship aspirations year in and year out. Let me give you this stat. The last 3 years, regular season record, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. The first 12-5 season, lost in the wild card game to San Francisco. That was at home. A year ago, lost to San Francisco in a divisional game. Currently, right now, you just lost the Green Bay wild card game again at home. That's unacceptable. When you talk about other teams in your conference that have found ways to get to a Super Bowl, that is the goal for the Dallas Cowboys, to get there. And in the last 3 years, when you talk about the regular season success, especially this year, especially this year, we all felt like the one hurdle for the Dallas Cowboys would be playing on the road in the playoffs. But we also felt like if they can get the first game at home, that is a slam dunk for them. Regardless who comes into their crib, into their house, that is a slam dunk based on what they've done on both sides of the football field at home, especially defensively. This was almost like a given, but it wasn't a given because the playoff woes, the ghost of playoff football, showed up for the Dallas Cowboys once again. 16
consecutive wins in that building for the Dallas Cowboys. Their last loss, week 1 of last season. This is exactly the situation they needed to tailor for themselves and got some help to get there.
They were number 2 seed. They were the number 2 seed. If there was a slip up from San Francisco, if you took care of your business today against a young Green Bay Packer team, you could potentially have everything come through D-Town Boogie. Everything come through your crib. But guess what? You're at home.
So when these types of things happen and we look back at history and we look forward to future decisions, sometimes we lose sense of what just happened in that 60 minutes of football because it was so lopsided and momentum swung so early. 48 points on this defense. Take me
41,
inside.
41. Remember the pick 6?
You had the pick 6.
Yep, 41.
B-Mac always giving credit to the defensive side of the ball. Got to respect that. Those points, this performance or lack thereof by the Dallas defense, what did you see in that matchup?
Well, the thing about playoff football, Joe, you know I talk about this all the time. Some of the things that we saw in the regular season that might not have been big talking points.
You just gloss over them.
You gloss over them, you see them, you talk about it, but you move on. They become talking points in postseason play. They're magnified in postseason play. Aaron Jones ran through this defense. Michael Parsons don't get home, nobody else gets home. We saw that circulate and show up a little bit throughout the season when they played against teams like Buffalo, when they played against Miami, like teams that could run the football. Green Bay ran the football well. And then also outside of that, as I mentioned, they didn't put any pressure on Jordan Love. So we saw the uncanny ability for Jordan Love to be special because he was always super comfortable at all. Never felt like he was on his heels. So the Cowboys defensively, they got to get physical. They got to get physical at the point of attack because they're too small. You have a safety playing linebacker in Bell. I like Bell, heck of a football player, but oftentimes he's put in a compromised position because he's undersized. He's undersized. You're talking about P and 10, which is first down situations. You You have an undersized linebacker playing linebacker. What happens in first down situations? You get a lot of straight down the line running, coming right down the teeth of your defense. This is a guy who's around with 205, 210. How will he handle the point of attack when big 300-plus pound guards are coming down? That doesn't make any sense, and it surfaced today. And if you're allowing the team to run the football against you, your strength is not a strength anymore, which is the pass rush.
It totally negated what they want to do offensively, and then the scoreboard gets lopsided. You become one-dimensional, and here we are looking at it. You just saw the graphic. Most points allowed in franchise history in a playoff game. And when something like that happens, even when something smaller than that happens in Dallas, big conversations start happening. Should we even be having the conversation about the quarterback and the head coach? Because the finger pointing has begun, and changes are always on the horizon when Jerry Jones is the one making the decisions. What changes do you expect?
Dak Prescott is not going anywhere. We already heard rumors about a potential extension for Dak Prescott, deserving so that's what it is. And when it comes to Mike McCarthy, as I mentioned, the last 3 years, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. You made it to the second round once. You had 2 home playoff games. You lost both. When you add what happened today and earlier, 2 seasons ago, when you lost to San Francisco. So now the question remains, is Mike McCarthy more than a 12-5 coach that will probably be one and done in postseason play? That is something that you have to consider, because as I stated earlier, the Cowboys have championship aspirations. But I'll say this, Joe. You should never break up with your current girlfriend if your next girlfriend is uglier than the current one.
Wow.
So if you got
Sage wisdom.
If you got a prettier girl waiting, then go get the prettier girl. So if you don't have a better coach waiting, you better stick with Mike McCarthy.
The grass is not always greener, but Jerry Jones tends to lay sod wherever he likes. We'll see if he can go find one of those big names to change things when it gets to this point in the season. But it is time now for our moment and our game ball, presented by Ring, answering the bell. Who answered the bell biggest in this moment for you?
It's a good problem to have when you can kind of give the ball to 3 different guys. But I got to go Aaron Jones. I got to go Aaron Jones, man. He answered the bell today. Going back to his home state, I heard he had to purchase around 20-plus tickets for family and friends, and oh, he did not disappoint. Aaron Jones is my guy. He answered the bell today. He rang the bell today. He did all of the above, and he did so in a flashy style. When you talk about seeing the glasses on the sidelines, he had 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards. I mean, he jump-started this effort for the Green Bay Packers, because at halftime, I think he had 2 touchdowns going into the locker room. When you talk about the lead that they were able to have based on his running and everything that he's done for this team, especially when he's been healthy. So my guy, Aaron Jones, man, I know you probably still got the shades on today. I need to get me some of those shades, by the way. Might need to do that next week.
You give your game ball to him. I agree with it. It was the run game that really started this thing, but I'm going to tip my cap and give a game ball to Jordan Love, because going back over this 9-game stretch, 21 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Did not let momentum shift in this moment on the road. A 7 seed knocks off a 2, and the youngest team in playoff history is moving on to Santa Clara. Now, here's a look at your one-and-done postseasons since '96. You know, that's really the line of demarcation. Before that, you had to come through the star. Now, just as B-Mac would say, an in-the-way team. 12 trips, 8 one-and-dones for Dallas. Plenty more coming on CBS Sports HQ, and you know how it goes when the game or the season ends. Jerry Jones addressing the media next.